Okay, I feel like we need to do one more just to get the idea here. So I'm going to turn this one into a matrix. So let's go 2. So let's go 2, 3, 1, -5, -9, 3, -2, 4, -6, -13. 5, -3, 4, -8, -21. Okay, so we have 4 unknowns with 3 variables. So this is going to have an infinite amount of solutions. So I want to try to get a diagonal of 1s right there. Okay, well, I'm taking a look at this. How about I go row 2 minus row 1 and put that in row 1. That will take 3 minus 2. Okay, so 3 minus 2 is going to be 1. -2 minus 3 will be -5. 4 minus 1 will be 3. -6 minus -5, so -6 plus 5, -1. And row 2, -13 minus -9, so -13 plus 9, -4. And then I'm just going to put the other ones in. Okay, so now I need to get this one to be a 0. So I'll just take row 1 times -3 and add that to row 2 and stick it into row 2. Okay, so that'll be -3 plus 3. Well, first I'm going to go ahead and put the top row in there. -1, -5, 3, -1, and a -4. And now I'm going to do it. Okay, -3 plus 3, 0. -3 times so that'll be 15 plus -2. Multiply this by -3, that'll be -9 plus 4. Then -3 times this one will be 3 plus -6 will be -3. And -3 times that will be 12 plus -13 is -1. And then row 3 goes with it. Okay, now I want this one to become 0. So I'll take the row 1 times -5 and add row 3. Stick that in row 3. Okay, so row -5 plus 5, 0. Let me put the top rows in there. 1, -5, 3, -1 at -4, 0, 13, -5, -3 at -1. Okay, now I'm doing it. So this times -5 plus 5, 0. This times -5 will be 25 plus -3, so 22. This times -5 will be -15 plus 4, so -11. And this times -5 will be 5 plus -8, -3. And this times -5 is 20, plus -21 is -1. Okay, now I need this spot right here to be a 1, so I'm going to divide this row by 13. Okay, so the top one, I have a 1, -5, 3, -1 at -4. Row 2, so I'm dividing this by 13. So 13 divided by 13 is 1. -5 divided by 13 will be -5 thirteenths. -3 divided by 13 will be -3 thirteenths, and -1 divided by 13 will be -1 thirteenths. And then the third column, 0, 22, -11, -3, and -1. Okay, now I would like this spot right here to be 0. So how about we take -22 times row 2 and add row 3. Put that in row 3. Okay, so the row 3 is changing, so row 1 is still the same. Row 2 is still the same. Row 3, okay, so I'm taking 22 times this plus this, so 0. Taking -22 times 1 plus 22, so 0. Okay, now we got one that's not going to be 0. So I'm taking row 2, so I need to take this times -22 and add -11. So I would just put that in my calculator. And I get 110 thirteenths. All right, then I need to take this spot times -22 plus -3. I'm going to put that in my calculator. That's going to give me 66 thirteenths. Then I need to take -22 times this plus this. I'm going to put that in my calculator. 22 thirteenths. Okay, those don't look very nice, but that's what they are. So now I need this spot to become 1. So I'm just going to multiply row 3 times 13 1/10. Okay, the top 1, -5, 3, -1 is -4. 0, 1, -5 thirteenths, -3 thirteenths, -1 thirteenths. Okay, now I'm multiplying everybody by 13 1/10. 0, 0, 1. Okay, so now I need to take that times 13 1/10. So I have 66 thirteenths times 13 1/10. So it's 66 over 110, which is 3/5. Then I need to take this times 13 1/10. So I'm going to take 22 thirteenths times 13 1/10. That's 22 over 110, which is 1/5. So having your calculator handy is pretty necessary. Okay. We got our diagonal right there. So we have as close to answers as we can get. So remember, this is the A, B, C, and D. So right here I have as much done as I can possibly get. I have C, 1C, plus 3/5 D equals 1/5. Okay, so you got to solve these backwards. I need to solve for D first. Okay, well, I'm going to get some other letters in there. I'm going to let K in place of C. Okay, so I've got K plus 3/5 D equals 1/5. Move the K over. Multiply everybody by 5/3. So we've got D equals 1/3 minus 5/3 K. Okay, got this. The D is done. Now I need to get C. Well, C's already done because we let it stand for K. So C equals K. Now I'm going to come up here and work on B. Okay, so look where I'm at. I'm way up here at the top. Right here's B. Okay, so I have 1b minus 5/13 c minus 3/15 d equals negative 1/13. This was a 13th. Okay, well, let's see. I want to solve that for b. I can substitute a k right there, and I need to substitute all that stuff in for d. So really I have b minus 5/13 k minus 3/13 times this d number, which is 1/3 minus 5/3 k equals negative 1/13. Okay, let's multiply this in there. So that 3 and that 3 are going to cancel out. So I've got b minus 5/13 k minus 1/3. Now I need to take this one times this one. Okay, well that 3 is going to cancel that 3 again, and I have a minus times a minus, so it will be plus 5/13. So we've got plus 5/13 k equals negative 1/13. Okay, let's get all this stuff. This was a 1/13 right there. Okay, how about we put it together? There's a negative 5/13 k and a positive 5/13 k. That adds up to 0. I'm going to add 1/13 to both sides. And sure enough, b equals 0. And now the last thing I need to do is come all the way up here and get this very first column up there. So that's a 1a minus 5b plus 3c minus d equals negative 4. Okay, well, b is 0, so this piece ends up being 0. C is k, so I've got a plus 3k minus d. Okay, d is 1/3 minus 5/3 k. So I've got a plus 3k minus 1/3. Minus minus makes plus 5/3 k. Putting some of these things together, I'll add a third to both sides. So that's really negative 12/3, that's the 4, plus 1/3, so that's negative 11/3. So that becomes negative 11/3. Over here, I've got to put together these two, so I'll get a common denominator. So I've got 9/3 plus 5/3, so that's 14/3 k. I'll move that to the other side, so it'll be negative 14/3 k over here. So I've got a equals negative 14/3 k minus 11/3. That piece. There's a. Okay, so look what I've got. Here's a. Here's b. Here's c. And here's d. Okay, I'm going to put all that together. Okay, now I'm going to put it together up here close to by where we were. I want the answer up here. So here's what I just said. I've got a, which was negative 14/3 k minus 11/3. I had b, which was 0. I have c, which is k, and we have d, which was 1/3 minus 5/3 k. Okay, we can stick anything we want in for k. So if k were 1, All right, well, 0 is still 0. So if I stick a 1 in for k, I've got negative 14 thirds minus 11 thirds. That would be negative 25 thirds. And if I stick a 1 in for this k, it would be 1 thirds minus 5 thirds. That would be negative 2 thirds. Okay, what I'm saying is, if I put 25 thirds for A, 0 for B, 1 for C, and negative 2 thirds for D, it would all add up to negative 9. If I put in this combination, it would add up to negative 13. If I put in this combination, it would add up to negative 21. But I don't really like that. We can let K be anything. I'm going to let K be 2. Okay, well, 0 is still 0. Okay, if I stick a 2 right here, that would be negative 28 thirds minus 11 thirds. Negative 28 thirds minus 11 thirds. That's negative 39 thirds, which is negative 13. And then if I stick a 2 right here, that would be 1 third minus 10 thirds. Well, 1 third minus 10 thirds is negative 9 thirds, which is negative 3. Okay, I'm also saying that that solution set answers all of these, and that's a lot easier to try to show. Okay, so I'm gonna try to show that. So right here, negative 2 times negative 13, that would be negative 26. 3 times 0, that would be 0. C is 2. 5 times 3, so this was a plus in between there, that's a plus in between there. Here I've got minus. 5 times negative 3 would be negative 15, so that makes that plus. Okay, negative 26 plus 2 plus 15, sure enough, is negative 9. If I stick it into this one right here, negative 3 times, 3 times negative 13 would be negative 39. Then I've got minus 2b, so minus 2 times 0. Then I've got plus 4c, so 4 times 2 would be 8. Then I've got minus 6 times, so 6 times negative, that'd be negative 18, so plus 18. Okay, add all that up on your head or in your calculator, sure enough, it's negative 13. And then if we plugged them all in this combination, sure enough, they add up to negative 21. That is a set of A, B, C, and D that makes all of this true. But so is this one. That is a set, if we stuck it all into A, B, C, D, it makes this true. And we could let K be 3 and see what goes with it. We could let K be 4 and see what goes with it. We can let K be 5 and see what, some of them will be fractions and some of them won't be fractions. But we have an infinite amount of solutions now just based off of what we pick to be K.